I am Wilhelm Helsingius, and I have psychology and cognitive psychotherapy degrees. Welcome to episode 1 of the Love Unconditionally handbook. How you'll relate to life, and the ability to delay an impulse. We begin this journey by turning our attention toward something deeply fundamental. Your way of relating to life, and the way you meet it. And all that life puts you through. How do you actually relate to your own life? What do you expect from it? And how do you respond when things don't turn out the way you had hoped? Could self-discipline be essential? Not as demand. Not as punishment. But as an act of care. A way of saying, I matter. We matter. This matters. A way of being there for yourself with presence, with a choice, and a chance to practice compassion. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Are you willing to stay with the discomfort? Even if only for a little while? In other words, are you open to facing what feels unpleasant? Not for the sake of suffering, but because somewhere deeper within you, there's a longing for something more lasting, more meaningful, more real. To feel better. But also to grow. To become more of who you truly are. To move toward something that gives meaning. Something valuable, instead of settling for momentary comfort. Or do you sometimes find yourself holding on to the belief that life should always feel good, light, and easy? That question isn't meant to accuse. It's just an invitation. See if you can answer it honestly, with compassion for whatever you discover. The truth is, many of us resist discomfort, even when it's exactly what's needed for change. Even when it's the bridge between where we are and where we long to be. Life won't always be soft or fair. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it stings. But that doesn't mean you're powerless in the face of it. You can meet life in a way that makes it lighter, rather than heavier. You can respond in a way that brings clarity, even in chaos. And in doing so, life can begin to feel more whole. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real. If you hold tightly to the idea that life should be easy, suffering tends to grow. Not because life gets worse, but because resistance drains us. It creates the feeling that we're victims of something that should not be. But life is full of both beauty and difficulty. The more we come to terms with that, the more we can accept that pain is part of being human, the less it overwhelms us. And the more energy we save for what actually matters. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It simply means we stop pushing against reality. We stop wasting our breath on why me? And we begin to meet the moment for what it is, with honesty and presence. Everyone you meet is carrying something. Even if you can't see it. What if you could begin to see life as a series of moments, some pleasant, some uncomfortable, that are here not to punish you, but to be met? Avoiding them doesn't make them go away. It just makes the weight of them grow in silence. The way you meet these moments, how you move through them, how you speak to yourself in them, that is what shapes the quality of your life. So how do you tend to respond when something feels hard or unclear? Do you tighten up? Do you turn away? Do you wait for someone else to rescue you? What if, instead, these difficult moments could become your teachers? What if the discomfort they bring is not a sign that something's wrong? Not with you. Not with the world around you. Not even with life itself. But simply a reminder that you're alive. Could it be that the very situations you wish weren't there are the ones offering you growth, clarity, even healing? And if that's true, if discomfort has something to teach you, then maybe your well-being depends less on what happens to you, and more on how you choose to meet it. We often look to others, especially doctors or experts, to fix what hurts. But how often do we pause to ask, how am I living? What is my attitude? Am I choosing, and what am I choosing? How do I relate to myself and to others? Is it more important for me to receive than to give? Do I allow myself to care unconditionally, to stay connected, or am I guided by fear and inner rules that build walls between me and the people I actually long to reach? What do you think? Is your health, your well-being, something that's shaped by your attitude, your choices, and the way you move through the world? Could it be that, at times, you've come to see yourself as a victim? Do you notice a pattern of turning away from the more difficult situations in your life? If avoidance has become a habit, it's possible that you may, without realizing it, step into the role of the victim, not because you are one, but because that role can feel safe, or even protective, in the moment. But when we place ourselves in that role, we often lose sight of what the moment might be trying to teach us. We miss the quiet invitations hidden inside the hardship, the kind that help us grow, stretch, and see ourselves more clearly. Have you ever caught yourself doing that? Stepping into the role of someone to whom life is happening, rather than someone actively shaping it? Sometimes it's hard to notice this in ourselves. Would you be open to asking someone close to you or someone you trust whether they've ever seen you act from that place? Not to shame yourself, not to judge, but to gain perspective, to see yourself through the eyes of someone who cares about you. Because sometimes what we can't see clearly from within, others can gently reflect back to us. Wherever you are in life, maybe now is the moment to stop pointing outward, at circumstances, people, or the world, and instead begin turning inward. Because every time we place the source of our struggle outside ourselves, we give away our power. We reinforce the belief that we are helpless, when in truth, we are anything but. What if you didn't just see yourself as part of the solution, but also considered how, at times, you might be contributing to the problem? This doesn't mean you are the problem. It means you are part of the possibility, a living, choosing, evolving part of it all. You have the capacity to meet life differently, to ask more honest questions, to respond from a place that is deeper, wiser, and more aligned with who you want to be. What if, instead of placing blame on yourself, on others, or on life, you turned toward curiosity? What inside me moved me to act the way I did? What was I feeling? What did I need in that moment that I didn't know how to ask for? And if I could meet that moment again, what would I want to bring to it now? May I offer you an example? A more gentle way to meet life and yourself, especially in moments that feel overwhelming. When things don't turn out as you hoped. When someone does something they absolutely shouldn't have done. Or when you receive news you didn't want and weren't prepared for. When you feel deeply vulnerable. Alone. In shock. Afraid or powerless. When your thoughts spiral. This shouldn't be happening. Why me? Why does it always end up like this? Why is life so unfair? This is an invitation to pause and to simply be there for yourself. Not to escape the pain, but to glimpse something essential. Something that touches your health, your well-being, and perhaps even the course of your life. The next time something difficult happens, something you didn't want, something heavy or unexpected, try to remember. You don't have to do anything unless someone is in immediate danger. There's nothing that must be fixed in this moment. The most important thing is not what you do, but how you are with yourself. You might ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Am I allowing myself to feel what I truly feel? How am I relating to myself in this? What are my thoughts telling me? Are they building in a threat, fear, or pressure? Am I allowed to feel helpless? Do I remember that I don't have to manage everything on my own? Are my thoughts placing me in the role of a victim? Or can I meet myself with genuine understanding, knowing this is hard for me right now? If you're in distress, it's often not because of what happened, but because you're not allowing yourself to feel what you feel or need what you need. Try this. Breathe in deeply and slowly through your nose. Breathe out through your mouth. Do this a few times. Pause. And then again. This simple rhythm calms your vagus nerve and gives your body a chance to settle. There's no pressure to fix or solve anything immediately unless someone is in danger. Try to remember. The biggest influence on how you feel is often not what happened, but how you relate to yourself and to what you feel. Are you accepting? Or are you trying to control the moment or what happened? You might say to yourself, I'm allowed to feel helpless. I don't need to control anything. I don't need to know what to do right now. When the time comes, I'll respond. But right now, I can just be. I can feel what I feel. I can need what I need. I'm allowed to be soft, uncertain, and vulnerable. No matter what happens outside of me, it doesn't threaten who I am, at my core. And things will settle. They always do. Everything passes, the good and the difficult. Nothing stays forever. The most important thing is that you don't abandon yourself. That you stay with what you feel and with what you need. I promise you, when you allow yourself to truly feel what you feel, on a deeper level, something shifts. You begin to feel better. There is no suffering in that space, only a feeling that finally got the room it needed. Sometimes, simply letting yourself be sad can bring a deep sense of relief. Even if you feel alone. You're not. There are people who want to help. But they need you to show them your truth. To say when it's too much, to let them see your pain. I don't believe in the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But I do believe that pain can soften and shape us if we find the courage to meet it, or have tools for it, or reach out for help. And I don't judge those who break under the weight of what's hard. Sometimes, it's simply too much. Sometimes we're blind to see where we could be more loving and accepting towards ourselves. And that's often the most difficult thing to see, or find. So maybe you can begin to see what happened as an opportunity. A chance to know yourself more deeply. To meet yourself more gently. I often think of pain as a kind of light, shining softly on the places within us that long for more kindness, more acceptance, more love. If you see yourself as a victim of life, or of what someone else did, you may miss the deeper truth that this moment is offering you a chance to be more gentle with yourself. Self-knowledge begins where blame ends. Try to remember. Nothing is truly bad unless you define it that way. And no one can hurt you without your inner permission. Without the thoughts that turn pain into suffering. Take it slow. You don't have to take in all of this now. We'll return to this in a later episode of this handbook. Personally, I've come to believe that the harder something feels, the more it likely has to teach me. Not because pain is noble, but because it's honest. Because it strips away what's unnecessary and shows us what truly matters. So when you find yourself in something difficult, something you wish you could escape, you might say to yourself, here is a chance to learn more about who I am. Even this has something to give me. We often try to avoid pain, not because we're weak, but because we're afraid of what it might reveal. But sometimes, it's that very fear that points us toward what we've long neglected, what we most need to feel, or heal, or finally speak aloud. Forcing yourself to stay positive, while turning away from what hurts doesn't protect you. It distances you from your truth. It can create emptiness, a quiet ache of meaninglessness, because you're no longer living in full contact with yourself and your own life. So the question becomes, how do I meet the challenges of my life, the discomfort, the struggle, in a way that leads not to harm, but to growth. As I gathered the words for this first part of the handbook, I found myself returning to an important question. What might be the single most essential skill, the foundation, for living a good life? A life that feels meaningful, and one where well-being isn't just a passing feeling, but something deeper and lasting? What is it that gives you the ability to influence how your life unfolds, not just on the surface, but in how you meet what life places in your hands? What helps you stay in touch with what you truly feel and need, and allows you to act in a way that aligns with your values, instead of simply reacting to whatever emotion happens to show up in the moment? What do you turn to when you see life not just as a series of fleeting experiences, but as something that also includes challenge, discomfort, and choices that ask something of you? Could it be self-discipline? But then again, what is self-discipline, really? We often think of it as resistance, as restriction, as saying no to something we want. But maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's not about saying no to life, but about saying yes to something deeper and more meaningful. Self-discipline, at its core, is the ability to pause. To not give in to every impulse, every fleeting desire. It's the strength to stay with what matters most, even when something easier, quicker, or more tempting is within reach. Is there anything of true value we can build, in ourselves or our lives, without that? Some might think of self-discipline as something only children need to learn. Or perhaps the word itself brings up a sense of failure or shame, a reminder of all the things we meant to do, but didn't. Could the absence of self-discipline be one of the main reasons we struggle to meet our deeper needs? Why we fall short of acting in ways we later wish we had? Why we react harshly toward others, even when our hearts meant something entirely different? How do you view self-discipline? Is it something harsh and punishing? Could it be something else entirely? Could self-discipline be a choice, a quiet form of respect for yourself? Could it even be an act of love? Imagine this. You have a choice between something nourishing and supportive to your body, or something sweet and comforting in the moment, but that leaves you feeling worse later. Is that restriction, or care? Or picture this. The alarm rings. It's early. You'd rather stay under the blanket, but there's something you want to do today, something that matters. You rise. What do you think, restriction or care? Or maybe you're someone who pushes too hard. What if, for you, self-discipline means allowing rest? Giving yourself permission to stop. To breathe. To not prove anything for a little while. What if it means honoring the love you've built with someone, choosing to protect it, nurture it, even when something tempting flares up for a moment? Not because you're suppressing desire, but because you're protecting something sacred. Or maybe it's choosing to listen. To stay. To remain present and open with someone you care about, even when what they're saying stirs something in you. Choosing connection over defense. Curiosity over control. This, too, is discipline. Not in the sense of force, but in the sense of freedom. To act from within. To live from your center. To be guided not by the mood of the moment, but by the quiet voice of your values. In a world that never stops, where distractions pull us in 100 directions and our nervous systems rarely rest, this kind of discipline becomes even more important. And if you're a parent, it becomes vital. It's what allows you to pause before walking in the door after a long day, to shift, to land, to be present with the ones waiting for you. To offer them not just your body in the room, but your attention. Your warmth, caring and presence. Without this kind of inner steadiness, it's easy to get swept away by the noise of your thoughts, by the screen of your phone, by the urge to check out instead of tune in. And when that becomes our default, the version of ourselves we come to believe we are, something within us begins to wear thin, and we lose touch with who we truly are. We lose touch with the joy of presence and contact. The quiet satisfaction of doing something well, with your whole heart in it. The intimacy that comes from really being with the people in our lives. And over time, that distance can turn into emptiness. Into sadness. Into a sense that life is passing by, and we are not fully in it. So maybe self-discipline isn't about control at all. Maybe it's about presence. Maybe it's about care. Maybe it's one of the most generous things you can offer, to yourself, to those in your life, and to those you've yet to meet. The difference between self-discipline and the ability to resist an impulse. Sometimes it's easy to resist a fleeting impulse, but much harder to stay with a long-term goal. Self-discipline is broader. It's the quiet strength that helps you stay the course. To build routines, take responsibility, follow through, even when motivation fades. The ability to delay an impulse, to pause, to choose something greater over something immediate, is a part of self-discipline. But only a part. You might resist hitting snooze. Skip the unnecessary purchase. Hold your tongue when irritation flares. These are moments of impulse control. But self-discipline is what helps you return to your deeper values again and again. It's what carries you through a project that takes months, or a habit that takes years to root. How it shows up in daily life. Impulse control helps you say no, in the moment. Self-discipline helps you say yes, over time. Yes to what you've chosen. Yes to what matters, even when it's hard. You might delay a treat or resist reacting sharply. But can you keep showing up? Day after day? That's the question self-discipline asks. A few questions to sit with. Do you find yourself putting off things that feel unpleasant? Do you reach for what feels good now, even if it steals from what you want most? What would happen if you reversed that? If you started with what you've been avoiding and let the sense of relief come after? Short-term pleasure or long-term meaning? Pleasure in the moment is easy. It's fast. But it fades just as quickly. Long-term satisfaction asks more of you. But it gives more, too. What happened to the rats in the laboratory when they were given a button that stimulated the pleasure center of their brains? They kept pressing it again and again until they could no longer stop. Not because they felt joy, but because they had lost the ability to choose something else. They pressed it over and over until they died. It became about compulsion. And we're not so different. We scroll, we snack, we react, even when it no longer feels good. Training the muscle of delay. What would it be like to pause? Just for a moment. To resist the chocolate, the quick reply, the sharp word, and choose something else. Something that aligns with who you want to be. That small act of restraint can open the door to something deeper, considering your relationship with yourself and others. Peace. Clarity. Connection. And when you do it again and again, it builds something solid within you, and something that lives in an unconditional relationship with others. A way of living that lasts and allows you to be what you truly are, on a deeper level. The strength in waiting. Learn to see the value in effort. In patience. Not as punishment, but as a kind of care. Be kind with yourself. Truly kind. Understand what you long for, and let it be okay to want. It's in that acceptance, not denial, that endurance grows. The more you reject your own desire, the more likely you are to act in ways that hurt you. Try to remember. The impulse is strongest at the beginning. If you can wait just a moment, or maybe 5 minutes, you'll notice it loses some of its power. You might even say to yourself, "Wow, I really want chocolate right now. And I'm going to see if I can survive this enormous suffering, just 5 more minutes without it." Say it with a smile. With compassion. If it doesn't ease the craving, ask gently, "Could I wait just a little longer?" Delaying gratification is like training a muscle. Not perfection, practice. Even when you give in sometimes, you're still learning. Still growing. With every moment you pause, the impulse loses a little of its urgency. This isn't just about food or shopping. It's about how you treat your time, yourself, something more meaningful, and of course, your relationships. An invitation. Can you make a promise to yourself? The next time you really want something, don't say no. Just say not yet. Let yourself feel the discomfort. Notice what happens inside. Notice that you can bear it. Every time you do, you build resilience, a strength. A moment to reflect. What kinds of situations might benefit from not acting on your first impulse? Start general. Then look closer at how you show up with the people in your life. Do you repeat behaviors that once gave comfort but no longer serve you? Maybe even hurt you? The next time you feel the pull to buy the new phone, to open that drink, to eat what you know won't make you feel good, try waiting. Not forever. Just a little while. Don't judge yourself. Self-compassion is essential here. Even 1 minute of waiting matters. It's not about resisting forever. It's about remembering that you have a choice. Think of a moment when you often react, interrupt, speak too soon, say something you later wish you hadn't. Could you pause? Could you sit with the discomfort of holding back? Let it pass through you before you speak. Sometimes, the space between feeling and action is where love has room to breathe. Let's begin now. From today, can you start practicing the habit of waiting? Especially in your relationships. You don't get a deeper connection just by wishing for it. You invest in it. So I ask you, truly, can you promise this to yourself? That the next time you come home, or meet someone you care about, your child, your friend, your partner, you'll pause. You'll notice the impulse rising. And instead of reacting, you'll wait. Just a little. Then ask yourself, what happens if I don't act right away? What opens up in that space? Could you even wonder? What might they be feeling? Why are they acting this way? Instead of trying to control, could you try to understand, have compassion, and accept? And maybe, just maybe, that's where real connection begins. If you're skeptical, if you're unsure about the value of waiting, about pausing before acting on your impulses, maybe you could try, just once. Not to prove anything. Just to see what happens. Notice how strong the urge feels in the moment. How loudly it pulls at you. And then, try to delay it. Even for a few minutes. Then watch. Does anything shift? How do you feel afterward? Do others respond to you differently? You might even ask someone close, your child, your partner, a friend, if they've noticed anything different. Maybe when you take a little more time before answering, before assuming, before speaking your mind. These small pauses can open space. And in that space, something new and more valuable may grow. Impulse control and life quality. There's a clear link between your ability to wait and the quality of your life. Children who struggle to delay impulses often face greater challenges as they grow. And many of us carry patterns that began long before we could choose them. Where it all began. If you didn't feel safe, loved, or held in predictability as a child, it's natural that waiting feels hard. Maybe even frightening. Why wait if things might disappear? But here's something important to remember. This is not your fault. And it can be reshaped. If you're a parent, teaching your child to wait, to sit with discomfort, just a little, may be one of the greatest gifts you give. A minute of patience here, a small delay there. These are the seeds. They grow into resilience. Every time we sit with not getting what we want, we become stronger for what life might bring next. Meditation is one way to practice stillness in a world that constantly moves. Even just a few minutes can gently stretch the space between thought and action. That space is where your power lives. Meditation is simple at heart. It's the act of noticing a breath, a sound, a thought, and choosing not to follow it right away. It teaches you to witness your impulses without obeying them. And slowly, you begin to carry that stillness into the rest of your life. Into conversations. Into moments of stress. Into the way you speak, or choose not to. Even a pause at the bus stop, in line at the store, or before speaking in a meeting can become a valuable practice. Imagine this. What if every child began their school day with just 5 minutes of silence? What if every workplace allowed room to breathe before the rush? We'd see calmer kids, more present adults, fewer outbursts, more connection and presence, and maybe, just maybe, a kinder world. It doesn't have to be big. You don't need perfect conditions, or a meditation cushion, or an hour. You just need a moment to notice, to breathe, to stay. Before starting something new, before reacting, before deciding. That's where presence begins. A reflection. Humanity didn't survive by getting everything right away. We've endured and grown through patience, collaboration, and care. So what matters most to you? Is it getting your way right now? Or is it choosing something deeper, something that serves you and those around you in the long run? By waiting, by breathing, you may discover that you lose nothing and gain everything. Thank you. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this reflection and first episode of this handbook. You are warmly invited to listen to the next episode whenever the moment feels right. If something in these words stirred something in you, I'd be grateful if you shared a thought, a like, or simply let someone else know. Because maybe someone else needs this pause too.